this is an enormously important hearing because it's vitally important that we hear from folks around the country who are struggling with one of the great challenges that we have, and that is a crumbling infrastructure. And I'm especially delighted, Madam Chair, that you invited Sue Minter, the Deputy Secretary of the Vermont Agency of Transportation, to be here with us. Sue played an especially important role when the state of Vermont was hit by Tropical Storm Irene. Many of our towns were devastated, and she was the recovery officer as we attempted to rebuild those towns, and she did a great job doing that. I think the bottom line here is, and I don't know that there's much disagreement up here or among our representatives who come from all over the country, and we're very appreciative that you are here, that as a nation, we are all aware that something is very fundamentally wrong. That in Vermont, and I suspect that in your states as well, your bridges are crumbling, your roads are in need of repair. In many parts of this country, unemployment is much too high. And we're sitting here in a situation where the rest of the world is spending significantly more money on rebuilding their infrastructure than we are. So the bottom line to me is that we lose efficiency, we lose productivity. God knows how much money is being spent by individuals whose cars go over potholes and axles break and so forth and so on. People waiting in traffic jams rather than getting to work. So we have a crisis. We have waited too long to address it. I was mayor of the largest city in Vermont for 8 years, and I can tell you that it takes money to rebuild the infrastructure.
Good morning, and thank you, Chairman Boxer, Ranking Member Vitter, members of the committee. This is an honor for me to be able to speak before you today about the special issues facing small states and your opportunity with the next transportation reauthorization bill. It's also great to hear from you about the issues that we feel so passionately about. Our transportation network really is the backbone of our economy, and our economic strength and growth and success depends upon a 21st century transportation system. And now, as our country is finally slowly climbing out of the Great Recession, it is critical that we fund a safe and reliable transportation system. Vermont, like many states, is confronting challenges of an aging and deteriorating infrastructure, as we've heard. While we have made substantial progress in the last 5 years, we, like others, still have 30% of our bridges are either structurally deficient, functionally obsolete, or both. And a quarter of our roads are considered in very poor condition. The highway network is an integrated system that literally ties our nation together. And all states continue to need the federal government to play a leadership role in funding our system. Although Vermont is small and rural, we also play a significant role in the national network. We host 2 interstate corridors and a rail corridor to our nation's largest trading partner, Canada. And this is why all state DOTs and our private sector contractors are extremely concerned about the pending insolvency of the Highway Trust Fund. Just the prospect of the fund running low on cash by this July has already motivated many states, like Rhode Island, to delay new capital projects. We must mitigate our risks, and we are all watching you to see what is coming next. I want to make it clear that if the fund is not replenished soon, project delays will become cancellations. And a reduction in our transportation projects directly translates into job losses in the construction industry and will have an immediate and negative economic impact. In a small state like ours, it can literally tip the balance on our fragile economic recovery. So on behalf of all of my DOT colleagues and our partners in the construction industry, we need you to refill the trust fund as expeditiously as possible. We also support MAP 21's focus on funding flexibility, performance measurement, and innovation. Our state has benefited greatly from these reforms, particularly with our accelerated project delivery program. We understand that government must innovate. We must strive for efficiency and demonstrate to our taxpayers that we are getting results for their investment. Finally, I'd like to comment on the increasing challenges that severe weather is imposing on our infrastructure and our budgets. With the weather you've been seeing here in DC, I'm sure we don't need to remind you that winter is long this year. In Vermont, we are out today cleaning the 93rd winter weather event, an all-time high. Unfortunately, this is also a budget breaker and increases the degradation and the cost for our road maintenance. And across the nation, weather patterns are changing. Natural disasters and weather events are increasing in frequency, severity, and cost. In the past 3 years, the U.S. has tallied 32 different billion-dollar storms, ice and snow, floods, tornadoes, wildfires, drought, and now landslides. In 2011, Vermont suffered historic flooding from Tropical Storm Irene, which ravaged our state in one night, damaging over 500 miles of road, taking out 34 state bridges. Because of infrastructure damage, 13 communities were totally cut off by this flood. 20,000 acres of farmland were flooded, 1,200 homes and businesses damaged, and most tragically, 7 lives lost. Thanks to your help and the federal funding, and in particular, the Federal Highway Administration ER program, Vermont is now 2.5 years later in a strong recovery. We thank you. I know well the toll of disaster. I helped lead our transportation agency's emergency response to Irene, and 4 months later was deployed by Governor Shumlin to become the recovery officer for the state. Transportation departments are finding themselves in unexpected leadership roles as disasters strike.
Sum up, please.
Something I witnessed in Colorado. Irene taught us many lessons. I've seen dramatic impact of infrastructure loss and the risks to human lives and economic security, and believe that resilient infrastructure is needed, and I request that we consider research and investment in resilience to be included in the next transportation bill. Thank you so much for your time and for the important work you do in sustaining our transportation system.